What kinds of mental and physical challenges do people with amputations face?
And how can prosthetics make a difference when available?
This is Enable, the Disability Podcast, where we'll share stories, experiences, support, resources, and more for people with disabilities and different abilities. We are at Enable Podcast on social media. My name is Jeff Herbert.
And my name is Kurt Howard. We're talking with Lindsay Hicks, a disability advocate who helps support fellow amputees. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Lindsay, please tell us about yourself and your experiences. How old were you when you were amputated, and why did you need it?
A little bit about myself. I'm above the knee amputee. I'm married. I have 2 kids. One's 14 and one is 5. I live in Cleveland, Tennessee, and it's absolutely beautiful here. As far as the experiences go with my amputation and how old I was 22 when I had my amputation done. I had a birth defect that led to amputation. So basically, I was born with a short leg, and so I had to wear a built-up shoe for my entire life from 9 months old to 22 years old. I wore the built-up shoe. I went to Shriners, and so that's kind of where my dream of having a foundation that I'll talk about later that helps fund amputees that can't afford prosthetics. That's where that dream started. So I went there my entire life, and just seeing, the other people there, that the amount of people that couldn't afford it, that's what kickstarted that. But without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I wouldn't have been able to experience the things I experienced growing up without the help of the donations from the Shriners. Growing up, I played every sport that there was known to man. My parents never told me no. They always said, go ahead and do these things, and there's no failing at it. If you can't do it, let's move on to something else. Let's try something else. So they never told me you failed. They always made sure that I succeeded. They would try everything and accommodate everything to make it where I succeeded in whatever I tried. And so I was on the color guard. I was in the marching band. I played softball my entire life. I played basketball for a little bit. That was one of the things that they said, you're not, it didn't work out. I didn't fail. I just moved on to something else that I could do. I would feel better about succeeding at it. Even though they said, you're succeeding at this, let's just try something else. Because it was a challenge. Basketball was a challenge just because of the running back and forth. But after I graduated high school, I started having pain in my left knee, and that's what led to amputation. So they went through the knee joint since I had my whole femur bone, and that's what was short. And so they went through the knee, but I'm classified as above the knee. So I wear a prosthetic with a knee and a foot. So to a lot of doctors, it's a little strange because they see me as above the knee. But when I explain to them that I have my entire femur bone, they are like, well, then you're not above the knee. And I'm like, well, I am, but I'm through the knee.
Lindsay, what are the mental and emotional challenges that come before and after the procedure?
So when I was 22, walking into that hospital, knowing I'm about to get my leg amputated was the scariest day of my life. I really didn't. It's the unknown. You look forward and you're thinking, what is going to happen after today? And at that age, trying to fathom of the decision that you have to make of what's your life going to look like after this? And you're so young. And so I just thought of, I want a family. I want children. I want to run after them. I want to do those types of things. And that's what made me make the decision of, let's do this. And so when I woke up, the first thing I did was flip that cover back and look to see if that leg was gone. And sure enough, it was gone. And then after that, I don't remember anything for about a day. But then after that, it was my I felt like I was Lindsay one way before the amputation. And then I was a different Lindsay after the amputation. And it's like I was two different people. And I don't know how to really explain the identity of the before the amputation and then the identity after. I just know that I still had the same confidence, but I was Lindsay with a leg and I was Lindsay without a leg. And so that was the identity issue that I had. So I had to kind of figure out who I was after that again. So that's when everything happened and I got my first leg. I walked on it. I hated it. I wanted to just throw it in the trash can. But after I got through all of those mental and physical challenges that you were asking me about, it was hard, finding your identity again. That's a mental challenge that you have to get through. Depression, even, you're depressed on where am I going with this and how can I walk with this leg, when you first get it. And then once you get it, you kind of start getting out of that depression and you start doing things that you were doing before, but in a different way. And so you have to kind of accommodate yourself to these are the things I can do this way. It might be different than someone that, has two legs, but you're getting it accomplished. And so that's when I decided about 10 years after my amputation, I decided I wanted a running leg. And so I went and my little hometown community in Clarksville, Arkansas, they really rallied behind me and they helped me raise $10,000 to get the running leg. And so when I got the running leg, I trained for what was called the Peach Festival 4-miler in my hometown in Clarksville. And I ran that. That was my first one that I ran. It was a run walk, but I accomplished it and I got through it. And my entire community was at the finish line clapping and cheering me on. So that was the best feeling in the world, knowing that I could accomplish something like that. And so then I went to, I had the opportunity to go to Las Vegas and I ran a 5K on the Las Vegas Strip. And it was a run walk with me as well on that one. But I accomplished that. And there was this lady at the end she was not going to let me finish last. She was running in place and she was all about, you are going to not be the last one to finish. So, and she did it. I mean, she let me finish and then she finished right after me. She was the last one. And so it's just amazing people that I've met along the way. And, after that second run, I kind of moved away from that and life changes. And so I had to stop running for a little bit and I moved on to coming back. I was in Arkansas at the time, but I got married. So I went to San Antonio and that's when I went to school and I actually got my PTA degree, physical therapy assistant, but I decided that's not what I wanted to do because I felt like my heart was with amputees and it kept pulling me towards the amputees. And so my prosthetist at the time, I got to do my internship with him. And so they hired me right after that to be a patient advocate. And so that's where the marketing and patient advocacy started, was in San Antonio, Texas. And so they let me run with the support group, and they let me run with, I was also a spokesperson for their foundation that they had in the company. It was called the Prosthetic Foundation. And I was a spokesperson for them. So they had a lot of galas and things like that that I spoke at. And that was empowering just on my own, within me. It was empowering because I got to tell not only my story, but hopefully I got to encourage other people during that time. And
Talking about meeting people out of the blue, Lindsay.
yes,
You and I met on the south rim of the Grand Canyon.
yes, we did.
And one of those things I observed about you, and I kind of knew right away, is that you had some tenacity spirit at conference.
Well, thank
We kind of bumped into each other a couple of times on that trip.
Yeah.
Right. You said something as you were describing your story. You said something that kind of struck a chord with me, is prosthetics and the cost of prosthetics.
Yeah.
How does that work? And you mean insurance doesn't pay? What do prosthetics cost? How would I go about if I needed one, getting one? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Depending on like what type of prosthetic you want, like a running leg or a water leg or a shower leg, things in that aspect, insurance doesn't cover those things. Because they see it as it's not a necessity, it's a luxury, which to me, that is absurd. Because why does an insurance company get to dictate how I want to live my life? So by saying that, that's where, a running leg, this was 15 years ago, actually, a running leg, just, the socket, the running knee, and the J-shaped running foot. It was, and this, I got it at a discount because I worked for the company. So I got it for $10,000. Typically, if someone else were to want to do that, it would be $15,000 to $20,000. Yeah. So, I mean, that's completely out of pocket. A water leg, that's probably a little bit less. I'm not exactly sure about that. I used an old prosthetic that was a mechanical knee and an old foot, and I used that as my water leg. So I just happened to have that as my first leg. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to use that when I go to the beach and whatnot. And so as far as that goes, I don't typically know how much a water leg would cost, but I'm just by going by how much I know that particular leg cost, the socket, the mechanical knee, and probably one of the cheapest feet, it would probably be about $5,000. But like, talk about like a everyday walking leg, that's pretty expensive as far as an above the knee. Now, a below the knee, you can get a socket and a foot, and it would probably cost about $4,000 to $6,000, and that's a lot still for a below the knee. Above the knee, it's gonna cost, if you get a microprocessor knee, which that's what I have. Luckily, insurance pays for that on a certain K level. And what I mean by K level, there's K1, K2, K3, and K4. And K1 is like basically going from the bed to the bathroom or the bed to the kitchen. It's very a low level prosthetic. K2 is a little bit higher. It's just basically if you need to get in the car or get out of the car, go to the grocery store, things like that. K3 is what I am, and that's where you change the things that you can get for a prosthetic, and that's like the microprocessor knee, that's a different type of foot where it's more active. And since I'm younger, and I have children, I'm considered the K3 because I'm more active. A K4 is basically military, that type of active, like very, very, very active, where you have to do certain things in combat, things like that. And you get a very nice microprocessor needs. You can get where you can switch modes to running and walking and jogging and whatnot through K4s. So those K levels are very important as far as what type of prosthetic you need. But by saying a K3 level, that I know that insurance bills for my foot, my microprocessor knee, which is the C leg, and my socket, it's probably about $50,000 to $80,000 insurance.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, insurance hikes things up. So I'm thinking if someone were to pay it with cash, it would probably be around $40,000 to $50,000. So, the cost of a prosthetic is just outrageous. And not being able to have the ability to be mobile and have those prosthetics that you need, it really pulls my heart into wanting to help people that can't afford them, because I'm blessed that my insurance pays for the things that I need to live my daily life and to take care of my children and to take care of my husband and take care of my family and all of that. I'm blessed in that aspect. But there's so many people out there that are not, and they can't afford it. And even with their deductibles, even if they do have insurance, their deductibles are so high that they go 10 years without a new prosthetic because they can't afford the things to go with it. And so they have holes all in their liners. They have broken feet. They have all kinds of stuff because they can't afford the deductibles. And so it's just the cost of different prosthetics just range in all kinds of stuff, but it really, really just pulls at me to help these people.
It's interesting that you say that, because I think a lot of people don't realize that hearing aids are similarly not always covered by insurance as well, and the prices of those can be very high. As someone who has a profound hearing loss like myself, I have very high-powered hearing aids that can cost, $4,000 each, and of course you have 2 ears, and so that can be very expensive.
Wow.
And insurance sometimes helps, but not always, depending on your situation or your insurance carrier. And there are a lot of things out there that, a person needs to be able to function and succeed in the things that they want to do. So
Yes.
I really appreciate you shining some light on that.
Yeah, of course.
Also, what do you want to add, by the way? I liked your story about basketball. My parents encouraged me to do the things that I wanted to do as well.
Yes.
Basketball was something that I had to quit in 9th grade, partly because I probably wasn't good enough or tall enough to be very good at it. But also, if I get hit in the head, I can lose what little hearing that I have left.
Oh, yeah.
And I got hit in the head with a basketball, and it basically taught me that, is it worth it to keep playing basketball, even though you're never going to be Shaquille O'Neal or Michael Jordan? Or is it better to stop playing basketball and just, you keep the hearing that you have so that you can do the other things that you want to do in life.
Right.
So those are the kind of decisions that are tough, but it's really great that your parents were supportive of that in your journey.
Yes, same to you. So it's great to have parents that encourage you to do things to make you the person you are as an adult.
Yeah. And so one of the things we wanted to ask you about, Lindsay, is you also have a daughter that is neurodiverse. And we'd like to know a little bit about your challenges as an amputee dealing with that.
Okay. Yes, she is 5 years old and she's autistic, and she also has generalized anxiety disorder and a lot of sensory issues. She has panic attacks. So having all those challenges that she has, I can also relate to her as far as the anxiety and things go, because I do also have those challenges as well. But with her being autistic, it's a whole new ballgame. Um, so she has those tendencies of not understanding what danger is. And so I have to be very vigilant with her when we're out and about, because right now I'm on crutches. I am not able to wear my prosthetic. So due to a surgery that I had in July, I've had a lot of wound issues. So I've been on crutches since then. And with that being said, going places with her can be a huge challenge, because she's not only autistic, but she has ADHD as well. So, she can run off and very easily and very quickly, and I not know where I don't know where she is. And so, luckily with the 14-year-old, it's a lot easier, because my 14-year-old daughter helps when it comes to her when we're out. But there's times where I'm with her just by myself and she doesn't listen as well, because she has those challenges that she has to deal with. And so when we're getting in the car, she doesn't always listen to stay right there, and she runs back behind the car or whatever. And I can't get to her fast enough. Even with my prosthetic, I can't run to get her because my knee doesn't allow it. I can try to run or try to get to her at a jog level by making my leg go out straight legged and do it that way, because my knee isn't fast enough. But on crutches, you can only go so fast on crutches. And so it's reality for me that I have to really be vigilant with her, because she will do those things. And luckily, and thank God that nothing has happened when she has done those things, and no one's been backing up or no one's been flying through the parking lot or anything like that. But those things enter my head when she runs off and does those things. And so, and with her ADHD, she wants me to hold her, or she wants me to put her in the cart, or she wants me to do this, or she wants me to dance with her. And I'm on one leg right now, so I will dance with her, but she doesn't understand the thing that I can pull mommy down. And so I have to tell her, be careful, mommy's on one leg, and I'll dance with her real softly, but she's still, she doesn't process the thing like, well, mommy's on one leg, because she knows mommy mainly on two legs, even though one's a prosthetic. So in her mind, she's like, this is mommy and I'm going to dance with her, and all of that. Or she'll want me to get down on the ground with her, which most of the time I can do that. But, getting up is a little bit difficult if you don't have something to pull up on. So, I have to think about all those things where she wants to do this puzzle, or she wants to, do all that kind of stuff. And with like my oldest, with Lila, I never had issues with my leg that I was without a leg. And she didn't have the challenges that Ruthie has. So, I didn't have to worry about those types of things with my oldest.
Yeah,
So
we recently had a guest. His name is Josh, and he had a spinal cord injury. Actually, he had a tumor and had to have surgery.
Mhm.
But his son is autistic,
Mhm.
and my grandson is autistic.
Mhm.
And what you just described is something all of us have in common, that fight or flight kind of response.
Yes.
The purpose of this podcast really is to share these experiences.
Yeah.
So that we realize, hey, we're not alone. But again, thank you for sharing the difficulty of just being a mom and dealing with autism, let alone having being an amputee. So, Jeff?
Yeah. Lindsay, what do you wish that more people knew or understood about you or others with similar experiences?
Um, I wish some people knew that even though I'm as active as I am, and even though I am, I act like I'm good, you know, really the statistics behind an amputee is an above the knee. When a able-bodied person takes a step compared to when an above the knee person takes a step, we exert 3 times more energy just by taking one step. And so it's by the end of the day, I'm done, and with the challenges that Ruthie has, and even with a teenager, she wants to go all over the place with her friends, and I have to take her everywhere, having those going on, all of just being a mom and doing the things around the house and stuff like that, I get tired really easy. And I know other amputees are that way as well. And so I wish people would understand, hey, maybe she's tired, or maybe they're tired, or maybe they need to take a break, or, mentally even take a break, because mental challenges with being an amputee and having to put on a leg every day and having to have a device on you that feels normal to me now and a part of me, it may not feel normal and a part of someone else. And they may have that mental challenge of, ugh, you know, I'm having to get up another day and put this darn leg on, and so just people realizing the things that amputees go through on a daily basis, and the amount of energy and the amount of mental challenges that we may have. I wish people understood more of that and thought about that more.
Lindsay, the other thing we're talking about is the cost of these prosthetics.
hmm
So we wanted to help someone, or we wanted to contribute towards that. How would a person like me go about that?
Well, right now I have a foundation and it's called Liberty Help. And um, I have a GoFundMe account open on my personal Facebook page that I'm trying to get the word out to kind of get it off its feet, because it's not brand new to the person that handed it over to me, but it's brand new to me for me to run. And so I've got just a little bit in the account right now because I haven't really had much of an audience to explain exactly what the foundation is for, or exactly what I'm trying to do with the foundation and how I'm trying to get it off its feet. Because honestly, you have to make enough money to do more events so you can get more money to help people. And so with this nonprofit, I'm trying to get it off its feet so I can do more events just to get enough money to fund the people that need the prosthetics. And even not just prosthetics, I'm going to fund wheelchairs. I'm going to fund anything that helps anybody be mobile, because, prosthetics is in my heart. But at the same time, orthotics, I wore orthotic when I was growing up. Those things are important. And some children's parents can't afford that. And so, and even as an adult, orthotics. So those things, and even diabetic shoes, to be honest with you, and the inserts that they need, just anything to help people get up and mobile. And so with the Foundation Liberty Health, that's the mission behind it, is to help people get mobile and pay their deductibles that they can't pay, or to pay for their prosthetic that they need to, they haven't had one in 10 years and they need a new one, or someone that needs a wheelchair and insurance won't pay for it, or they don't have insurance. That's another thing, a lot of people don't have insurance, or like older people, they're not old enough to get Medicare yet. So they have the insurance left over, the money left over that they have to pay that they can't pay. And, some places, you can't get the prosthetic until you pay. And so that's where I want to come in and be able to hand it over to the prosthetic company and say, here you go. This is for so-and-so. Let's get them mobile. And so with that GoFundMe account on my personal Facebook page, which you can search me under Lindsay Hicks, and it'll come up and I'll have Cleveland, Tennessee, and you can go to my profile and it's public. And so the GoFundMe is going to be right there on my Facebook page. And so that's how people can help get me off my feet with the foundation and get it going.
We'll share that link as well.
Okay.
Lindsay, thank you for taking the time to share with us. Do you have any closing thoughts you'd like to share?
I just want to encourage people to get out and do things that they may not think that they can do. And, meeting Kurt at the Grand Canyon, I was in a wheelchair some of the time, and then I crutched some of the time to take pictures. There's things that people, and I didn't think that I could crutch on those rocks, honestly. But I got up and I tried it, and I saw that I could, and I enjoyed being able to get to those rails and look over the side, that I couldn't get to with my wheelchair. So I encourage people with disabilities, of any disability, if you think that you can't do it, or you think that you might feel silly doing it, or other people's thoughts to you, don't let them affect you. You get out and you do what you need to do, and you do what you want to do, because once you get over that mental state of other people are going to look at me weird, or other people are going to do this, or I feel this way and I know I can't do it, you have to get out and try, because if you don't try, you'll never know. So I encourage people to do it. So just get out there and do it, and have fun with it. So
Thanks you again for joining us, Lindsay. This is Enable the Disability Podcast. We are at Enable Podcast on social media. Please like, follow, and subscribe.
And please share this podcast with your family and friends so we can share more stories about people with special abilities. And this is something that brings us all together. Thank you.